Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this session on sustainable agricultural production or agriculture. As you have heard, the program that we are celebrating today, the work of the last 10 years of supporting researchers in developing countries in South America and Caribbean, Africa, Asia, to elaborate technological innovation and social innovation projects aimed at increasing production and productivity in agriculture using less water, less land, less fertilizer, and less pesticide, less veterinary products, energy, and time. So that is a great challenge. To improve the living conditions of the population on a large scale, social and technological innovation has to be also efficient, cost-efficient, and easily accessible for people with lower incomes, and it has to be integrated in social systems and environmental systems. All this without degrading biodiversity and generating inequality or conflict. That was also a great challenge. Furthermore, these innovations, both technological and social, sometimes we forget that we also are talking about social innovation, must not reduce the resiliency of the agri-food system to climate change or economic shocks. So that is a great challenge, but we will speak about how we have succeeded. So we're talking about generating innovation in labs or research centers, or through pilot projects. Above all, we had to test these with users, had them tested by users, and this was done. I think that you had a look at the documents. You will see a lot of examples of how researchers worked with users through participative or collaborative methods. Researchers also worked with extension systems using or combining the classical methods that everyone knows, or a lot of you know, with new means stemming from information and communication technologies. So if you had a look at the documents, you'd see lots of examples, and one that will be presented here to show us how to do this. The experts who are here with me are going to present us a sample of the great work they have done. This sample is going to present a few examples of what was done within the program on the topic of sustainable agriculture. If possible, this will help us explore the different ways of doing things in the future. I prepared a lot of examples, but I do not want to repeat what Jean and Dominique had already said, so I'm going to stop here and go on to the first panelist, my friend Roshan from Nepal, my friend and colleague. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Roshan Pudasani from Nepal, and I represent organizations called Local Initiatives for Biodiversity and Development. And I'm going to share something about the project jointly implemented by Liburd, University of Guelph, Canada, Canadian Mennonite University, and Onmobile Private Limited. And it is about testing and scaling up sustainable agriculture kits. Now, we all know that above 1 billion farmers, those are subsistence type, are suffering from limited surface area for cultivation, poor soil conditions, high level of gender inequalities, etc. But on the other hand, there are hundreds of helpful technologies already tested and available for use that can help those farmers to reduce drudgery, increase sustainability, and increase production. But the problem is those technologies are not available right in place. For example, in the rural villages of Nepal. Now, in this CIFSRF project, what we did is we developed sustainable agriculture kit, which is like a menu that includes practices, knowledges, products, different things that can really help farmers to increase production, enhance sustainability of the system. For example, growing yam or any legume climbing type of crop in a terrace riser that is wasted, that is not utilized by the farmers in traditional farming to increase production and enhance sustainability. Similarly, or 200 rupees, that means $2 tool that can help women to reduce their workload for deshelling corn. So these are the simple technologies we are talking about. And at the second stage, when farmers test those, find it good, we try to piggyback on already existing distribution networks of private companies like a seed company or a snack food distributing company. So importantly, we are not here creating a different system to scale up innovations. We are just trying to use the existing system to add on that, to add agricultural innovations to distribute. Now the results. With our support, 57,000 households purchased. It's not for free. They purchased technologies and used it. And out of those, 79% are women. And it helped them to increase farm production on average 38%, and also reduce drudgery at least by 70 hours in a year. So what is the lesson for us? Now we can say that this approach of sustainable agriculture kits is capable to offer useful technologies to smallholder farmers living in remote. And these products can be really scaled up by using existing market system, existing networks. We don't need to invest more on that. And thirdly, we need to take care of strategies. A single strategy may not be useful for a whole range of technologies. And finally, this approach of sustainable agriculture kit is helpful to make agriculture more resilient and sustainable. We are thankful to IDRC and Global Affairs Canada for their generous support. If you want to know more about the project, please contact me or Professor Manish Raizada from University of Guelph. Thank you very much.
Wait.
The next presenter is my friend Alfred from Ghana. You have the floor, Alfred. Je m'appelle Alfred Yoba, je suis du Ghana. Je vais parler des technologies numériques pour la production agricole durable. c'est Grumman Foundation et Farm Review International qui nous ont appuyés. Ça peut être étonnant de savoir que les 1,5 million petits producteurs réussissent seulement 50% de leur potentiel en rendement et ils gèrent 70% des fermes du Ghana. Il y a des faiblesses dans le système de vulgarisation. Alors, on pose la question, comment atteindre les millions d'agriculteurs avec nos services de vulgarisation? On a créé des partenariats avec des postes de radio locaux qui diffusaient des programmes qui faisaient la promotion de bonnes pratiques agricoles. Il y a des fermières comme Akusha qui écoutent ces émissions dans sa langue locale. Elle peut avoir une interaction avec les animateurs de la radio. Nous avons des agricultrices comme Joyce qui reçoivent des conseils dans des messages au téléphone mobile, au téléphone cellulaire. C'est un exemple des connaissances qu'on a obtenues. Nous avons aussi des conseillers en alimentation qui ont des outils mobiles qui peuvent faire du mentorat avec les agriculteurs pour qu'ils choisissent bien la terre, les bonnes semences, comment contrôler les mauvaises herbes et la bonne application des engrais. Avec ces conseils, on travaille avec le maïs, le soya, et la plupart des gens vont cultiver ces cultures. Vous comprendrez que l'information, la vulgarisation ne suffisent pas. Alors les producteurs ont besoin de services pour mettre en pratique ce dont on fait la promotion. En travaillant avec le service privé, on a reçu des services de tracteurs, des semences avec les entreprises privées. Par rapport aux résultats clés, le projet a établi des liens avec 500 000 agriculteurs pour appuyer les services, dont 210 000 femmes. 575 émissions agricoles à la radio ont amélioré les connaissances et 175 000 producteurs de maïs ont adopté des pratiques améliorées et ça, le résultat a donné une augmentation moyenne de 229% dans la production. C'est important aussi de savoir que 91% des agriculteurs qui ont profité du programme ont indiqué qu'ils étaient prêts à payer ces services une fois qu'ils en voient les avantages. Les leçons apprises, on se rend compte que les connaissances numériques sont fondamentales pour ce genre de service et l'éthique pour la vulgarisation devrait appuyer et non pas remplacer les services qui existent. Et avec un mélange de nouvelles TIC comme les applications mobiles et la radio, ça va leur permettre d'adopter les TIC plus facilement. Et le secteur privé est un acteur fondamental, surtout quand on utilise les TIC. Ça veut dire qu'il y aura de la concurrence par rapport à la qualité et la prestation des services pour les petits producteurs. Au nom de tous ces petits producteurs qui en ont profité, nous remercions Affaires mondiales Canada et le CRDI de nous avoir donné cette occasion. Merci beaucoup.
J'ai eu l'occasion de visiter.
Thank you, Fred. I had the opportunity to visit this on a number of occasions, and I can tell you that it was a real pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, and all protocols as required. Livestock are also critical to food security. And you're hearing a lot today about all the crop-based plant work and projects, and a good balance is what's really required. And you're going to hear more about other micronutrients and things as well. It's estimated around the world that up to about 25 to 30% of all livestock losses are due to infectious diseases. And some of these important ones really do occur in Africa. And if you can have the next slide, which I will do, these are some of the ones that are really critical and have been identified as such. So in cattle, we have lumpy skin disease. In cattle, sheep, and goats, we have Rift Valley fever, which is also a zoonotic disease, so it can kill humans. We have sheep pox and goat pox. And then we have pestis petites, ruminants, which are also in sheep and goats. Now, there are vaccines available to these diseases, but the problem is that they are aimed primarily at your commercial farmers who have good access to refrigeration processes and this sort of thing. So what about your millions of emerging farmers? And that's where we come in on this project, using our expertise from Africa and from Canada. We are looking, and we've done it, to see if we can take all these vaccines, reduce them into a format, in other words, one vaccine, that can help emerging farmers with their problems, cold chain, etc. And that's why we're moving from the left of the slide to the right of the slide to make a vaccine that's thermostable, one vaccine for 5 diseases, and can help emerging farmers especially. Coupled to this, we also realize it's really important to look at the socioeconomic aspects of the diseases, vaccinations used by farmers, understanding, and so we have studies in place we did for gender, to look at impacts, and then training of farmers to help them actually understand the importance of vaccination. And so just looking then at some of the key results, there are many, but we've just picked a couple here. During the course of the project, we were able to develop 2 vaccines to various stages of manufacturing process development very rapidly. Vaccines can take anywhere from 10 to 15 years to develop. Using this vaccine delivery platform, it's a very versatile platform, and so we can make it region-specific, depending on what diseases are actually present, and we can target other diseases as well. We also came quite a long way to a first African swine fever vaccine. But currently, there's no vaccine available, and we have some good candidates as part of the project as well. The vaccine's stable, so again, the cold chain issue, mentioned manufacturing process development, and what's great about these vaccines is that they can slot into an existing manufacturing processes. Where lumpy skin disease vaccine is made, these vaccines can slot in, almost no extra requirements, therefore cost reduction issues. And the great news is from the project itself, from all the work we do directly with the farmers, we saw that what we've been producing in these vaccines are the needs of the actual farmers themselves. What's also key is that we realize that the farmers need to really understand primary animal health care. And so we developed a number of materials. These are available at the stand at the back there where the coffee is, right in the far corner. And please look at those. And what was key there, as we saw that only 23% of households interviewed actually understand that vaccines are used to prevent disease, whereas medications and things actually help to treat disease. And therefore, we developed some really good materials now available in apps as well to help with this. Lessons learned. Gender integration is critical to aid vaccine development and rollout. What we saw is that though for large livestock, the men are the ones that mainly do the physical work, the women are the ones often holding the purse strings. And so it's key to involve them in all the decision-making processes for acquiring these vaccines. Harmonious and constant communication is key to success. At all levels and times during the project, we engaged with the regulatory bodies, the vaccine manufacturers, the scientific partners, and the farmers and farmer organizations on the ground level. And that was critical. And of course, leading from that, the partnerships. We could not have done this without the multiple partnerships, Canadian, African, that we formulated and formed during this project. And those were critical. So to conclude then, healthy animals equals a happy farmer. And we believe we've achieved a lot in towards this process. And for that, we'd just like to say thank you and merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. There's an example of a project who shows that advanced science can be used to solve the problem of small farmers, both men and women. Now, I would ask for external specialists who didn't work with us on the project, but who are interested in agricultural development, to tell us, to give us their perspective. And tell us what they've read in the documents and seen with their experience. So I will ask Isabelle from CIFSRF to come up to the mic. Thank you very much. Isabelle Renard-Place from CIFSRF. We're based in Montreal, and I provide a course at the University of Montreal on food security.
In fact, before coming here, I was in the research world, so it's interesting to be back in contact with these circles. But at the time, I was always challenged with frustration, because what I was trying to do is to put farmers and researchers in contact, but there was a lot of obstacles in terms of publication and my calling. So there's a lot of equality between what we are looking for and the true needs or the true realities in the field. So the topic that I would like to speak about today is to see how we can help poor women, because if we want to have security, food security, we have to talk about uptake. All the technologies that you develop are relevant and interesting. However, they are only useful for 50s and only when they are uptaken by women and the rest of the community. So if we look at the parameters that this uptake forms, first of all, we need technologies that are very simple, or that can make technology simple. For instance, the vaccine example is complex in terms of technology, but we are trying to make it simpler for the user. In terms of simple technology, often we use things that seem simple to us, but we have to know what is accessible for the users. Technology must be not risky. You know that women are flexible in terms of what they can do and the risk that they can accept, but for food security and climate change that we are experiencing, this aspect of resiliency and risk is very important. The third element when we talk about technologies is that I think we have to have a basket of options, like not just one solution, an ideal solution, because every woman is different, every farmer has different conditions, and if we give them one solution, it may not be adequate for all of the situations. So the SAC program is very interesting in this sense, because there is a book of ideas that is made available. A lot of them are simple, but others are complex, but everybody can find something that is interesting to their specific case. There's also the issue of access, how these technologies end up with the users. I think that's something we're going to talk about more tomorrow. We saw two interesting examples of how we can use existing structures to create this access with the stakeholders who are people in the field. So I will not belabor this point, but what I would like to propose is that a technology needs to be useful and relevant, but also what is the vision or the perception of the user of this technology. And in the research circles and development circles, the perception can be very biased. I will give you a simple example. I work with local people in the field. It's very easy. I worked with simpler ways of doing than researchers were doing, but nevertheless, I missed I used seeds that bought in town, because in the because we are told that these have to be uniform, otherwise we can't do stats with them. But I can't do it because I'm not using the same seed. So in the end, the following year, we made a compromise, and I was criticized afterwards, and I couldn't publish my article, but I used the local seed. So I tried to find it in the local markets and keep it uniform, but the results for the farmers are a lot more relevant. So when we talk about uptake, we have to review our ways that we are analyzing results and doing our research so that we can increase this impression that we or imprint that we leave in the field. And also I think that we need to work on the capacity of analysis that people have of the technologies that we are bringing to them so that they can be able to analyze their own results. And I think that putting all these different actors together, NGOs and research centers, helps us to reduce this gap, and because researchers can't work on their own. And just to give you another example, if we collaborate more, we can reach out to a greater number of people in Haiti with colleagues who are here, collaborate with the ministry or departments to reach an extension program in terms. So we have 17, but we're going to get about 30 other ones. So in this project, having access to new technologies and new ideas is a huge challenge. But at the same time, if the research world came to see us, the NGOs who are in the field, who know people, who are close to farmers and know how to work with women, we could bring change. For instance, the university in Haiti approached us with a seed that they have developed that is resistant, the papillon is how they name it. It's a program that has nothing to do with their research, but we could distribute the seed, but it didn't cost us any more. So I think we need to work together a lot more. We did a first step, and I think that we need to continue in this direction.
Merci Isabelle. Tu as pris.
Thank you, Isabelle. And you took a minute away from Etienne, so the floor is yours, Etienne, right away. Hello. I'm claiming this minute because I can talk for a long time on this program and these issues, but in 5 minutes I'm going to choose 2 points. First of all, with 800 researchers that work in 48 countries on the same mission as IRC, but we are not funders. We don't finance, but we have the same keyword. It's science in partnership. North and South work together to produce knowledge together. The 2 messages that I would like to communicate after reading this report on 9 years of a very interesting program is based on 2 things. Firstly, something that is going to come back to what Isabelle was saying. Researchers' brains are evolving. A few decades ago, we are dreaming of something that is going to change the world of technology. Technological innovation, and this knowledge is central to transformation, but it is never alone. I think that this program demonstrates this through the participative methods and local partnerships with local producers and their social, institutional, political, and other innovations that are always working together with technological innovation. So this is essential for producing knowledge and new technologies, but technology is never alone. I think it is fundamental to the extent that this problem of capacity is essential for scaling up. The work done by the fund on evaluating the impact, it's not evaluating the capacity of changes of capacity in the users. The most important thing is that it's not, because these capacities and this empowerment of stakeholders is the resilience and capacity to create local innovation. That's the first point. I think that we are at a stage where research has to question words like transfer, uptake, extension, because it doesn't cover the way in which things are done. I don't know a place, and I've been working in this field for 41 years. I don't know a single example where innovation was transferred without being remodeled locally. We're talking about appropriation because actors are always remodeling what is being transferred to them. That was my first point. I think that researchers have to change their perspective in terms of transferring technologies. The second point, and my last one, and perhaps the most important one, is production, about a production. I think that the program demonstrates to what extent this multiplicity of criteria on which we can evaluate performance, like nutrition, income, nutritional quality of what is of foods that are available. But I am convinced that we did not fully measure the radical changes of analyzing agricultural performance. We can talk about transformation. Agricultural performance is not the same thing. It's not yield. We're talking about production and income, but it's also sustainability and health and the ecosystem and the health of consumers and farmers and all the environmental elements. So when we talk about sustainability, we cannot just be happy with increasing yield, even if it's sustainable, without following up on everything else. I think that there are projects that demonstrate how preserving biodiversity is important. In our group, we chose 15 years ago to focus on ecology and ecology transition, I think. And I think there is space for everybody in research because the stakes are high. I think there is a deficit in the mechanism of intensification of ecological functions that are at the foundation of culture. We have to mobilize to produce. The best way to limit our impact on the environment is to produce in this way. I think that if we're talking about the future the technologies of the future, I think we have to intensify mechanism and functionalities of the ecosystem. Not only we shouldn't degrade, but we have to improve the ecosystem capital. That's sometimes the only asset, the land, the water resources. And I think that intensifying this in the future is going to be greater than today, and it's going to come from the functionality of the ecosystem. And for instance, in one of rotation, that's the first example, the system, the push-pull and the biological. I think this is great about the innovations, the new innovations, but this comes back to local innovation because the ecosystem of one producer is never identical to his or her neighbors. So this is how they force each other to innovate, and that's what I think about the innovation of just. So first of all, I congratulate this program and diversity of impacts and perspectives. But I think that we are not done discovering all the changes that are required by researchers to face the challenges of food insecurity. Thank you.
Merci, Étienne.
Thank you, Etienne.
Je vous invite.
Thank you, Etienne. I would ask you to Google his name and to take a look at the publications that back up what he has just said. Now, we'll move on to the second phase. As Renaud and Franck explained, we'll be working in groups now. You can remain seated where you are, and we will ask you to discuss what you've just heard and seen.